The first time I saw the bulldozers tear into my father's cornfield, I thought I was dreaming. The roar of diesel engines, the clatter of steel against soil, the sight of a yellow machine flattening decades of family sweat, it was like watching history erased in real time. But it wasn't a nightmare. It was Linda Harris's newest project. Linda wasn't just any neighbor. She was the self-appointed queen of our HOA, a woman who wielded her title like a scepter. If you parked your truck an inch over the line, Linda fined you. If your mailbox didn't match the color scheme, Linda threatened you with legal action. And now, she'd decided our quiet Oklahoma neighborhood needed something elite. A private runway. Right through the middle of my land. At first, I wanted to storm over and shut it down on the spot. But I knew better. My father taught me patience. And besides, I had an ace Linda didn't know about. I wasn't just a farmer. I was John Miller, director of the Federal Aviation Administration. So, I played the part she expected of me, the grumbling farmer, hat pulled low, muttering about dust and noise. But behind the scenes, I became an investigator. By day, I tended my crops. By night, I gathered evidence. The first step? Cameras. I drove into town, bought 6 motion-activated trail cams, and planted them across the property like Easter eggs. One near the cattle gate. One overlooking the pond. Another high in the oak tree facing the construction site. Within a week, I had hours of footage, bulldozers ripping up my pasture, trucks hauling gravel, workers hammering signs that read, "Future HOA Airstrip." But pictures weren't enough. The FAA doesn't shut down projects on video clips alone, we need paperwork. Witnesses. Statements. So, I knocked on doors. Mrs. Thompson was first. Her little house sat half a mile from the strip, and her hands shook as she signed my statement. My windows rattled so bad, I thought a tornado was coming, she said. Then Mark, a young father down the road. My kids wake up at 2 a.m. from the noise, he snapped, slamming his signature like a hammer. I didn't move to the country for this. By the time I was done, I had a stack of testimonies thick enough to make any lawyer grin. And Linda? She was busy rehearsing her victory lap. I saw her strutting across the half-built strip one afternoon, clipboards in hand, investors hanging on her every word. 2 weeks from now, she bragged, this will be the premier fly-in community in Oklahoma. People will beg to buy lots. Lots? She was already selling real estate based on a runway she didn't even legally own. My coffee nearly sprayed across the porch. That gave me an idea. Let her talk. The more she bragged, the more rope she gave me. At the next community gathering, I hid my phone in my shirt pocket and hit record. Linda climbed onto the makeshift stage, mic squealing, sunglasses flashing like mirrored shields. Our HOA runway will be operational by month's end, she declared. Membership fees will cover maintenance, and our exclusive landing rights will make us the envy of the state. The crowd clapped. I smiled. Every word was now evidence. But the jackpot came later. I followed a convoy of trucks back to their staging area and found a pile of contracts tucked behind the clubhouse. Membership agreements. Linda was promising hangar space for $10,000 a pop. She wasn't just building a runway. She was running a scam. I photographed everything. Every page. Every signature. Every lie. My case file looked less like a complaint and more like a federal indictment. Still, I waited. Timing was everything. Shut her down too early, and she'd spin it as government bullying. No, I needed her to go big. To build her stage. Then I'd pull the rug out and watch her crash. And fate delivered. One morning, a glossy flyer landed in every mailbox. Ribbon-cutting ceremony. Champagne reception. Live demonstration flight. I laughed so hard I nearly fell off the porch. Linda wasn't hiding anymore, she was inviting the whole town to her downfall. I stapled the flyer to my case file and made one last call to Washington. She's hosting an opening, I told my contact. Get the cease and desist order ready. You're letting her throw a party before you shut it down? He chuckled. Oh, absolutely, I said. The bigger the stage, the harder the fall. The week before the ceremony, I doubled down. Cameras checked. Witness statements filed. Photos labeled. Even my cattle seemed to sense something coming, they'd gather near the fence, watching the half-built runway like it was an alien invasion. At night, I sat on the porch, the Oklahoma heat clinging to the air, and thought of my father. He always said, when someone's digging a hole, don't take away the shovel. Linda wasn't just digging. She was paving, painting lines, and selling tickets to watch. And soon, the whole town would see what happens when arrogance tries to take off without clearance. If you're still with me, hit that like button, because trust me, Linda's crash landing is just getting started. The morning of the grand opening dawned hot and sticky. The kind of Oklahoma heat that melts asphalt and tempers alike. From my porch, I watched SUVs snake toward the strip like ants. Banners hung between poles, "Welcome to the future." Folding chairs lined up in neat rows. A red ribbon stretched across blackened asphalt. Champagne glasses sweated on tables. Neighbors milled about, some curious, some furious. Investors in suits fanned themselves with glossy brochures promising exclusive air access and sky-high property values. And then Linda arrived. Crisp white blazer. Designer sunglasses. Clipboard tucked like a trophy. She strutted onto the stage, soaking in applause like a queen. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, voice swelling with pride, "today marks a new chapter in our history. We are pioneers. Leaders in progress." The crowd clapped. Cameras flashed. Linda raised her champagne flute. "To vision. To the future." I nearly choked on my laughter. Vision? She'd bulldozed my cornfield and poured half-baked asphalt, and she thought she was building LaGuardia. Then she raised her arms. "And now, to christen our runway, please welcome our first demonstration flight." Heads turned skyward. A twin-engine plane circled above, dipping its wings. The crowd gasped as it lined up with the strip. Linda spread her arms wide, basking in glory. That was my cue. I stepped forward. Boots crunching gravel. Hat low. Badge heavy in my pocket. "Linda," I called. "You might want to hold off on the champagne." She blinked, thrown off for the first time all day. "John, this isn't the time." "Actually," I said, pulling the badge from my pocket, holding it high. "It's the perfect time." Gasps rippled. Cameras zoomed. The FA emblem gleamed in the sun. "My name is John Miller," I said, voice steady, Director of the Federal Aviation Administration. "And as of this moment, this runway is officially shut down." Silence. Then chaos. Investors shouted. Neighbors gasped. Cameras clicked like machine guns. Linda's face turned redder than the ribbon. You can't do this." I smiled. "Linda, I'm literally the only person who can." The plane dipped lower. I raised my hand. Deputies I'd briefed earlier signaled the pilot. Engines roared as the plane banked away, climbing back into the sky. The sound of that aborted landing was sweeter than any symphony. Linda's microphone squealed as she sputtered, "This is a misunderstanding." "No," I said calmly. "This is illegal construction. Federal violation. Fraud. And it ends today." Deputies swarmed, snapping photos, confiscating documents. News cameras caught every second, Linda's trembling hands, the ripped ribbon, the champagne glasses dripping in the heat. Neighbors clapped. First a few. Then dozens. Then a wave of applause rolled across the site like thunder. Linda's empire was collapsing before her eyes. One investor jabbed a finger in her chest. "You told us this was approved." Linda backed away, stammering. I thought it was." "Exaggeration?" I cut in. "You've been selling memberships to a runway that doesn't exist. That's fraud." The sheriff stepped up. "Ma'am, we'll need you to come with us for questioning." The gasp that followed wasn't shock, it was satisfaction. "About time," someone shouted. "Check her books," another yelled. Linda's sunglasses slipped. Her voice cracked. This was for progress. For all of us. I shook my head. "No, Linda. This was for your ego. And it's over." Deputies escorted her toward her SUV as cameras swarmed. By tomorrow, her face would be plastered across every channel. When the dust settled, I addressed the crowd. "Neighbors, I know the past weeks have been loud, frustrating, and frightening. But I promise you this, the FAA exists to keep our skies safe. And this runway is finished. Not in the way Linda dreamed, but in the way the law demands." Applause. Real this time. Loud. Relieved. I picked up Linda's abandoned champagne flute, held it high. "To peace and quiet." The crowd laughed and cheered again. In the days that followed, life returned to normal. Demolition crews tore up the runway. Soil replaced asphalt. Neighbors dropped by with pies, handshakes, and thanks. The farm breathed again. Linda? She lost her presidency, her reputation, and probably her fortune. The only thing that ever truly took off was her arrogance, and it crash-landed harder than any plane. And me? I finally got that nap under the oak tree. But as I told my dog one evening, chuckling at the sunset, all I wanted was a week off. Instead, I shut down the shortest-lived airport in America. If you've ever dealt with an HOA nightmare, share your story in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more real HOA dramas.